Hello, this is the third one in our session. Before I start off, I'd like to go back and mention a few films I spoke about last time. The Wages of Fear I saw yesterday. It's a terrific film, 2.5 hours. It's long. Don't be put off by the slow start. The last hour is just nail-biting suspense. The sound editing is worth taking notice of, and the use of silence. And the climax features the Blue Danube Waltz, which most people associate with Stanley Kubrick's 2001 A Space Odyssey. But that was 16 years later. Woman in the Window is an enjoyable melodrama with an ending you're either going to love or hate. Personally, I thought it was a bit of a hoot. The Stranger has a wonderful climax in a clock tower. Orson Welles goes overboard with the use of shadows to build mood. He wasn't happy with the film. It was made about 5 years after Citizen Kane. Well, let's talk about the 50s. I want to show you a timeline so you can get some idea of what was going on around about the same time as these films were made. We had McCarthyism. There's a photo taken in the House of Un-American Activities Committee. That's the chap with his hand on his forehead is attorney Joseph Welch, who said to McCarthy, "Senator, have you no sense of decency?" The gentleman with the spectacles is blacklisted screenwriter Dalton Trumbo and his wife Cleo. I've put some mention of US television because a lot of these productions came from writers and directors that started off in television, particularly live television. Ace in the Hole was made by Billy Wilder a year after he had a huge success with Sunset Boulevard. The alternate title is The Big Carnival. You can't get the entire movie on YouTube, but you can get the whole film on Dailymotion. It was very timely with regard to the media and yellow journalism. Kubrick's first movie was The Killing, and 2 years later he followed it with Paths of Glory. You can't catch these on YouTube, you can only get scenes. Marty was an original television production in 1953, written by Paddy Chayefsky. 2 years later, the movie was made. You can't get the movie, but the original television production is available on YouTube. Same with Patterns. That was an original teleplay, live to air, but in this case, YouTube has the Hollywood version that was made a year later. Now, this film you might not have heard of, but you probably have heard of Network, the film that was made 20 years later. Different author, same theme. The rise of demagogues and popularism, which is so timely today. Now, the director was Elia Kazan, who had a huge sensation 2 years later with On the Waterfront. The same scriptwriter has written A Face in the Crowd. It has a terrific cast. You don't expect Andy Griffith to be in a film like this. You can catch the whole thing on YouTube. Now listen for this and see if you can guess the film.
Hey, Johnny, what are you rebelling against? What do you got?
Okay, you can pause it if you like, if you want to do a bit of research. Marlon Brando made a lot of iconic films in the mid 50s. The film Blackboard Jungle featured in the middle. You can just between Vic Morrow and Glenn Ford, you can see a very young Sidney Poitier in Blackboard Jungle. And about 10 years later, the tables are turned and he's now the teacher with a difficult class in To Sir With Love. Anyway, you can catch excerpts of these films on YouTube. I think when you think of Brando and James Dean, you think of youth movies of the mid 50s. And I should mention again the golden age of US television, that we have 5 veterans of the writing staff of Your Show of Shows, which was a live-to-air comedy show starring Sid Caesar. And the writers went on to many well-known films and plays. On a side note, you might want to catch a film made in the 80s called My Favourite Year, starring Peter O'Toole, that covers the era of live US comedy shows in the 50s. Well, that's enough of my rambling. If you have any questions or comments or follow-up, please email me. My next YouTube presentation will talk about websites that you might want to look into if you're interested in film.